In most of the galaxy, every species had its past mistakes. Each one had, in the past, made one quiet decision, either out of pure desperation or severe and catastrophic miscalculation, that beset them in their psyche for years to come. And every species acknowledged that. No one was special. It was impossible for any organism with the intelligence to achieve FTL, not to have once made a mistake. So every year, on Founders Day, the newest species had to show the galaxy their sin. It was a fairly celebrated event, though it was not televised without stringent protocols to ensure it did not tarnish any reputations. And as you can imagine, humans, the newest uplifts, were encouraged to do such. We as humans were always obscure about our histories. We only ever shared when an alien counterpart had a bloodier battle in a similar time period. It's not that we didn't believe they could stomach it. In fact, that was the least likely thing. The problem was, it's shocking. Close allies and seemingly docile neighbours, showing the worst sides of themselves. The event always brought a new trauma to be processed. Once the Op, a race of gentle grazing sheep-like cats, participated. No one expected much from them. They were always kind, the softer kids on the block, we'd joke. Even if their features occasionally threw us off. We found out their stomach structure was actually adapted to a carnivorous diet long beforehand. At first it seemed like simple trivia, perhaps their grass had more protein. That was until their Founders Day event. That anatomy quirk, once thought of as a simple evolutionary mishap, turns out not to be. On stage, they showed us their world's last war. Hearing an Op even mention the word was dizzying. They were never violent. Not bothering to address the murmuring, confused but now on guard crowd, they proceeded with their presentation. Within a simple slideshow, they detailed how a global political upheaval shook them in their bloodiest conflict. Due to a horribly planned coup, they entered a civil war. It stretched on for 20 years. Within that time, all major forms of their government collapsed, and as the world fell into anarchy, they degraded into savages. That digestive issue they brushed. Turns out they used to be and are technically still carnivores. During the collapse, agriculture failed, and all their livestock died. It got so bad, they were the only things left. After that realization, it did not take long before self-domestication began. Their population was halved by the ultra-violence that followed. They had to blur most of it, since by that time their species had grown quite skilled in photography. By the end of the presentation, 2 delegates vomited, 1 general resigned his position, and many of them spoke to the Op in whispers. The sheep cats voluntarily turned themselves into herbivores to avoid something like that ever again, dulling the violent size of their brains. Now, it was more than a year later. We didn't want the same thing to happen, so my alien friend decided to peer review the media before we offered them. In a private room we sat in, Crower, my reptilian assistant, fumbled with the TV remote. The device was too small and oddly shaped for his 4-fingered claw. I chuckled at him while getting the popcorn ready. "Gah! You turn this damn thing on," he yelled, eyeing my bowl. "And what is with the container? If this is another one of your Terran customs, how many times must I remind you I can't eat vegetables?" "Relax. It's for me if you don't want to try. You can't digest this shit, but tasting's not off the menu. Like the way you tasted my birthday cake whole after you got a whiff." I sat down, turning it on for him. On the screen I entered the movie. I could instantly see Crow, nickname, squinting at the words, rasping the letters. "Oppenheimer? What is that?" "You'll see soon enough. Trust me." For the next 3 hours he didn't say a single word. He had never seen anything like it. Most species portray their history through detached history clips. As brutal as they were mundane to those already numbed. Crow was one of those numbed. As long as I knew him, he never once cried or showed much discomfort at those meetings. But here, he was a different creature entirely. The storytelling elements were ones he had never seen before. I forgot to mention this was his first movie. The lights, the perfect angles, to each one of the main characters' breakdowns, to the eventual suicides, and the guilt of their actions. He saw firsthand our desperation to survive. He almost wept when the credits rolled. Shocked, I tried to turn off the TV. I thought it was too much, so I went to press the delete button. Then a tail stopped me by the wrist. Locking eyes, he gave me a dead man's stare and said, "It's perfect." In that crisp and pristine suit, I was shocked. I had never heard him say the word, shed a tear. Here he was, bawling his eyes out. I patted his trembling back gently. We couldn't be so rash. There had to be something wrong with it. No, it can't be perfect. I mean, what if they think it's too violent? The film's going to be coupled with some more World War II media in a similar medium. Think about it. They'll see Nazi Germany and even insights into the Cold War. Maybe... I said it was perfect. I don't use words lightly. I have seen catastrophes 100 times worse, but this is the only one with a heart. They showed regret. Crower snapped his tail at me, but it was shallow. Wiping his tears, he continued. So few people within those positions will later go on to fear them. They knew what they were doing. They risked your entire species' future survival for one war. From burning every atom in your atmosphere to the eventual death toll. They just wanted to make a deadly war slightly less costly. So few atomic ages are started with such goals. Yet again, the road to hell. He got up. I decided to press the save button. Dusting off his suit, he prepared to leave again, now that we actually had to present it to everyone else. Though my mind was heavy, to his surprise, my hand was soon on his shoulder again. He looks at me, wanting to know what it is this time. Yeah, Crower. As we all know, we have a lot of history. Be careful when you decide to dive into it. I have a feeling our museums are going to surge after this. There will probably be more movie interpretations made. Crower snorts, raising a cautious eyebrow. You have more? Are they more tragic? Yes. Call me a nerd, but I know a good chunk of history, I respond. What could be more tragic than that? Have you ever heard of the siege of Cuzco? I won't bore you with details now. Save it for later. Stepping in front of him, I open the door. There's no need to bog this down with too much history. Going into the hallway, we moved along the corridors quickly. Back in the room, I grabbed a small hard drive of the movie, with that additional media I spoke of. In my hands, I could wonder how everyone in the delegation was going to react. I could only hope they had the same opinion. Entering a larger hallway, through the last corridor we step into a fairly sizable auditorium. Here the guests are sitting calmly, all awaiting the human presentation. There was an unspoken tension in the air, the type you could taste. Everyone had a grim expectation that in a few minutes we'd go from the cute new guys to a different shade of depraved. It happens too often, but getting on, I come forward with a different mood in my demeanor. Greetings, fellow Star citizens. Today, we are Founders Day's latest victims. They laugh, a soft chuckle at the joke. I go on. Yet, though you are probably expecting me to, I will not be the one presenting our history today. A gasp comes out. I then raise my hand, showing the drive. Swiftly, I find a small port to install it on, in a secret compartment of the podium. Immediately, a hologram appears from the ceiling. By the time I sit back down with the crowd, the intro's almost finished. We went on to sit for 4 hours. When the credits finally rolled, no one dared to leave. The crowd read every name. Every now either a dead or an old actor. The producers, cast members, everyone. Only when the end music stopped did they give their applause. As the room went dark, I felt a heavy grip rest on my shoulder. It was the Yotl ambassador, who sat next to me. His eyes beset me heavily. Then he let out in a low whisper, "Thank you for not making this a dump of information."